Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is John. Today I'm going to show you how I set up um, cutting out this would be a college plaque with logo. As you can see, the state of Ohio in the background, Ohio State. Again, no hate if you're not an Ohio State fan or you despise them. This is just what someone wants, so this is where I'm going to cut. But anyways, this is how it normally comes out when it's a PDF. There's a video about how that is set up and how I end up finding the image and lay all this out. But anyways, so once it prints out, you get this and you lay it out on the table. You're obviously going to want to cut out. You can see there's obviously some over cut marks, and the white part you need to cut out. So instead of just showing you cut that out and spend the time, you could either obviously use a pair of scissors or a paper cutter, which paper cutter is definitely quicker if you're going to do that. But once you do cut all the lines out, then you're with a pattern sort of like this. You want it to be as close as you can to those lines, so you definitely want to take your time. You don't want any gaps, or else your letters aren't going to line up. It's going to look, you'll be trying to fill it in or make it up as you go on the scroll saw. So once you get this, there's one or two ways you can do. If you're just going to cut something out, you definitely can cut around the outside of the Ohio State. I recommend you leave at least about a ½ inch cutting around anything as you glue it down to the board. You do not want to be on the line, or else it'll lift up as you're cutting, and it takes time. You'll have to try to re-glue it back down. It's just a pain, and if sawdust gets in there, it's not smooth. Lessons learned with that. What I mean by that is, here I can take you over here. This is one that's already been cut out. As you can see on the logo, you can see that I actually have cut it out, ½ inch or so all the way around. Don't throw this state away, because you can still use this on the backer. This is actually going to be made out of pallet wood that I'll plane down and sand. And the logo you can either use, I use birch plywood or MDF. I don't like to paint the plywood, the birch plywood. I think it looks better stained, or use Danish oil or something on it to keep that wooden appearance. If you're going to paint something like this, will be all in color, then I usually use MDF. After I do get the logo cut out, I usually lay it out by 2x4 sheets, 2 foot by 4 foot sheets of MDF and birch plywood. You can get them in the 4x8 sheets. It's easier to get in and out vehicles if you have a smaller SUV, or even in the trunk of some vehicles, you may be able to fit that in there depending on what you're driving. But that's what I do, and this is just a rip cut piece from something else that I've made. What I'll end up doing is this is actually just painter's tape, Harbor Freight. It's pretty cheap, a couple dollars a roll or so. You can actually get it on sale every once in a while. You don't have to do this. I've seen people use like the you peel off the backer, and it's like a huge sticker. It comes in full sheets of paper. I've seen people use that, and I've seen people use packaging tape. I haven't used the packaging tape on top. I've done it before. People say it lubricates the blade or makes it smoother to cut. I think for me, I did tell a little bit of difference, but for me, it wasn't that big of a deal for the amount of money to buy packaging tape. And the painter's tape is more than enough. What I'll end up doing is all this line it up, and I try to keep it either overlapped or as close as I can to the last row. If there's a couple of wrinkles in it, it's not the end of the world. But with that, usually that's what I'll end up doing. You don't want gaps. If you have gaps in there, when you go to spray down your logo, it'll be between those, and it'll be harder to peel off. The painter's tape makes it real easy to pull off the whole thing when it's done cutting. So normally that's what I'll end up doing, and I'll lay everything out beforehand to make sure obviously how big of a piece of board and what I'll need. But you know, with this one I can do multiple. You can actually stack cut and cut this board in half and put one on top, and when you cut one you're actually cutting 2 or 3 depending on the thickness of the material. This is 1/4 inch. But anyways, I do have a couple of these I'm making for some friends, so I may try stack cutting. I'm not quite sure yet what my plan is behind that. But anyways, this is how I will normally have it set up. Normally, before I start gluing down, I'll just grab one edge or one paper, leave it so I know exactly where I'm coming back. You can even use opposite sides if you want. But what I end up doing is I end up using spray adhesive. So the spray adhesive that I use is this is also from Harbor Freight. It's just CRC spray adhesive. This nozzle fell off, so when you see me spray it, it sprays more of a straight line like on a jet than more of a fan, normal spray can pattern. That's because I dropped it off the shelf and it landed on the top and broke. But anyways, you'll see in a second. There's also, I know there's Loctite 3M makes them. I've used pretty much all of them. The CRC works fine. I'm only using it temporary to hold it down. I've seen people use glue sticks. I haven't tried the glue stick one yet, but I have tried the Loctite, the Gorilla Glue, CRC, and the 3M. There's a couple different kinds of 3M spray adhesives, but you really just have to see what works best for you. For me, this works fine. I don't have any issues with it coming up. But normally what I'll end up doing is I'll just having it lay down. I have it on the piece of cardboard just so I don't get on the floor in the garage. And it's not going to work with me. There it goes. And you see how it comes out in a jet, and that's way too thick. But it'll work for the purpose of this video. Obviously, if you get a good can that's not it fell in the lid, it'll spray like a spray paint can. You really want to make sure you get all the edges. So like this little edge right here, you want to make sure you get it good. It doesn't have to be that thick, I promise. You do not need to make it that's way thick. But anyways, I'll let that sit for a minute, and I'll show you what how I do the rest. Normally when I have it on the edge so it's easier to pick up, but this is pretty wet, so it's okay. You can wear gloves too. I do usually wear gloves because sometimes this stuff is fun to get off your hands. But anyways, so the reason why I only start with one is so I can line up this first one to see where I need to go. If you take them all off and you go to spray it, you may end up scooching it over too far depending on where your board is, especially if you have them lined up. You may end up lifting it up too high and not fit all of them across. So normally once it's on there, I just kind of push, and you can see even with the overspray, it's not going to matter when I pull the pattern off. Like I said, the painter's tape does a really good job, but you just want to make sure it's kind of pressed down on the edges and anything you're going to cut, so all the lines you'll see when I go to cut. And what I'll end up doing is the same process with all three of these, and then when I come back, I will just take one at a time. You line them up and make the lines so they're perfect, and you just do one at a time and until you get it complete. And then after that, you have it pretty much set up to start cutting out your pattern. But that's how I do it, my method. I know there's others out there, but let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate your time, and thank you for visiting my channel.